Okay, welcome everyone to the Chaos Data Science Working Group meeting for March 24th. Question of the day is something you enjoy about spring. Yeah, I'm also with Sal. It's not winter, so that's better. Although to be fair, in the UK, it's still rainy and chilly in spring. Um, More daylight. Yeah, that's great. Love that. Plants and animals, totally. All right. Let's go ahead and kick off on the agenda. So I think most or all of you know that I'm actually stepping down as co-chair at the end of this month. So I am basically the funding. So the Sloan Foundation had funded this position as director of data science for 3 years. And so that 3 years is up at the end of March. And so I've decided to step down as co-chair, partly because I feel like Sal and Callie as co-chairs and Ernest as a maintainer, I feel like y'all have got this pretty well covered. So I think I'm going to focus on other things within chaos. So I'm not leaving chaos. I'm still on the governing board, but I'm going to shift my focus to continuing to co-chair the OSPO working group and funding impact measurement working groups, which are other things that I've been involved in and are more well aligned with the type of consulting that I plan to do after taking April and May off. So I'm gonna take some time off. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna chill out. My mom's gonna come visit me here in the UK for 3 weeks. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so this does mean that this is probably my last data science working group meeting, at least for a while. I may pop in and out. We'll see what's going on. Um, Okay, a couple of practitioner guide updates. I was able to sync up with Matt Germonprey and we got the Research Software Impact Guide published. So that was something that he'd been working with Claire Dillon and a few others in the University OSPO working group. And they'd been working on that for a while. So we took it and got it published. So that felt good to get one out. The funding impact measurement practitioner guide, that one I do still plan to finish that at the end of March. So I'm going to continue to work on that. I've got loads of edits from people, suggestions from people that I just need to figure out how many of those I can incorporate and then get that one out the door. And then the other one that we have kind of work in progress right now is the usage, adoption, and popularity, which I think no one has really had time to work on so much. So we keep tracking that one, and eventually we'll set up some time in this meeting and talk about it.
Is that something that you would still be interested in being like with stepping down from the chair? Are you still like wanting to be involved in practice some practitioner guides or like kind of where do you see that going for yourself?
Yeah, so I am happy to help out with practitioner guides for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm also happy if people just want to do them and I'm not involved. That's also totally cool. Like I don't feel like I have to be involved in the practitioner guides, but I am also happy to be involved in them because it is something that I care a lot about. And in particular, this one, usage, adoption, and popularity is a topic that I care about quite a bit. So I'm still happy to help with that.
Do you have written down anywhere like, and this probably is like more of an unofficial thing, but like when you review practitioner guides, what are the things that you are looking at? Like what is the lens that you're reviewing from?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is alignment with the audience. So the practitioner guides are designed for people who are not experts in a topic. Even the advanced guides are still for people who are still learning how to do the thing. So I would say that's the biggest thing that I look for is, would this guide help someone who's relatively new to this particular topic, make some progress on whatever this topic is. So that's one of the biggest things that I look for. And then I also look for consistency with the other guides. So there's kind of a format, there's some common elements. I try to make sure that the guides kind of fall into some of the same patterns so that they look like more of a cohesive unit.
Okay, if there's like things that you think of, if you want to write those down in a document for since that like you kind of been the main person that is reviewing the practitioner guides, and I probably will still like be like, hey Don, for the first couple of like just getting another eye on it, but to be able to I feel like transfer that reviewer role over, having some like just view into how you've thought about the guides and reviewing them, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so that's also paired with I was just working with Elizabeth and she had started to document and then I kind of finished it, the process for publishing a practitioner guide.
Yep.
Because it's not as easy as just PRing it into the data science working group repository. There's a bit that has to be done by someone with edit access in WordPress. So there are some other things that have to happen, and so we've started documenting some of that, but I hadn't really thought about the review process. So I will I'll work on that as well.
Yeah, those documents probably can live in and it's like I kind of see them under a similar umbrella. So then the things that you, because there's some stuff that you don't know, like you're like, oh, it's you think about it as you go, but anything that you can write down means that we don't need to ask you.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Plus,
yeah, I'm
it's
hope
just good to have documentation on stuff like that, anyways. So I'll think more about that and start working on something.
yeah, I know I keep on saying this, but I do really want to do the usage adoption and popularity and plan on doing it. I've just had to completely focus on Augur for the last month. Um, So, I'm hoping that end is very near.
Yeah, fair enough. We all have, yeah, days and weeks like that for sure.
And it just,
Um,
oh, sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
Um, just with all these related topics made me think that I'm making a like notebook of how to identify contributors for the Chaos board elections. Um, I'm probably would go under Augur notebooks. I think that it would make sense for to contribute that upstream. Um, and so maybe I'll make like a notebook for it. I don't know if like there's just like a place that you're kind of putting like more processy type things because I feel like this would be kind of somewhat under like how like to do a certain process. I don't know if it should stay under because it's not really analysis. It's more of like chaos. Process review like I don't know it kind of I don't know if it should fall under the same branch of like what you're talking about here of like how do we go about doing this or if it should go under more like auger analysis.
Yeah, that's a good question. I was sort of thinking about putting the practitioner guide process into the part of the repo that has the practitioner guide so that everything's in one
Okay.
place.
Okay,
Because
that
I
makes
don't think
sense.
we have that. But yeah, so I think maybe doing that in the Augur notebook would be good. It might also be good to a link to have the election officers link it from some of they're working on some frequently asked questions and things like that. So it might be good to get it linked from that as well.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, anything else on the practitioner guides? Okay, project updates. Let's start with Ernest and Sal on the foundation stats.
Yeah, thank you. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to, after we figured that we could not meet the requirement for the SSF grant, so we started writing for the Sovereignty Tech Fellowship, which I think we should be able to meet those requirements. I think I made a couple of drafts. Sal reviewed it like I think today, and it would be nice if you and Kali can as well have a look. And because there is a requirement on STF that says you have to be like contribute to minimum of three open source projects. Currently, I contribute to two, which is Curiosity Working Group, Data Science Working Group, and Open Telemetry that I did my LFX. So I'm currently at like I started looking at 8 knots. I mean, I'll go 8 knots, but I think I leaning towards 8 knots more because it's I think it's the quickest way I could do something. Yeah, even though it's been long, I worked on Dash maybe 4 years ago for just for one project, but I should be able to find my rhythm. So yeah, I'm saying that now in case Kali has a quick issue that she thinks I could quickly work on, but I'm definitely exploring the issues myself. But you know, yeah, that's pretty much the general update.
Yeah,
And
you should definitely talk to Kaio actually. Kaio would be the best point of contact. He's also in this call for getting started with Augur. There's also an Augur 8 knot working group channel. And we're trying to work in 8 knot right now to make sure that all of our issues are up to date. So then somebody like you can more easily come in and start contributing. There's also kind of a good path of which we'll talk about in a second of like working on maybe like a visualization notebook, and then the next step of that is making that visualization in 8 knot, which Kyle will be showing something like what that looks like a little bit later on.
yeah, that's great. I'll reach out to you. Maybe via Slack. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know if Sarah anything. Okay, yeah.
yeah. The final note there, yeah, so we're gonna be working through this in earnest. We should meet like probably Monday next week just to do a final overview. I'm also gonna go and work on the repo a little bit to make it look more CNCF-y, which is generally good. Um, but yeah, I think we're at a reasonably good spot. And I honestly think even with the really minor deficits that we have around like contributions and whatnot, it is so strong and compelling for the funding because we can essentially provide a CRA baseline, which I think they're really going to like.
Yeah, then I don't know, Sal, if we should talk about the name change we are thinking, or we should take that to Slack.
Yeah, why don't you just announce it here and then we can also bring it to Slack. But I think it's a great name.
Yeah. So Salah and I thought in the coming days we see foundational start like growing to have its own name just beyond the foundational, statistics that we currently call it. And the name I came up with is hopefully I pronounce it well, Oikoscope. I sort of, rest on the way Augur was named to now say, okay, Augur is measuring open source projects while we are doing ecosystem level kind of analytics to see how communication channels are informing sustainability questions and also Oiko is like ecosystem, then scope is to measure. So I just say Oikoscope, you know, and I'm going to type that in chat in case I did not pronounce it well. You guys can correct me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we just so I'm really bad at naming things, and I probably just threw a name together for this. And like you said, it's evolved quite a bit since you started. So my perspective on projects like this is that those of you who are working on the project can rename it to whatever you'd like. I don't have any strong feelings. I don't know if Callie or anybody else has any strong feelings.
Nope, I feel similar about naming.
Yep.
That's how 8 knot came to be. It was me and James just being outdoorsy people and naming an entire set of project names after different outdoorsy titles.
Cool. All right. Anything else on the Lycoscope project or Foundation
Yeah.
Staff project?
One last note on like Tuesday of next week. I'm gonna send some links out to probably Don and Callie. If you have 10 minutes just to give our submission a review or anyone else you would recommend, maybe I'll just throw it on the main chat, but I'm looking for just eyes on it before we do a final submit.
What is the submission for exactly?
This is for the Sovereign Tech Fund, which is
Oh, yeah,
looking
yeah.
to provide, yeah, maintenance funding.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at it.
Cool.
Okay. Next project. It looks like Callie and Ko have some updates.
Yeah, I think mainly it'll be we're gonna have Kaio kind of walk through the notebook. This will be kind of the first notebook that's been made since the migration over to the data science working group for this type of work, of making a visualization based off of a chaos definition. And once that is merged, then it moves over to the 8 knot side and will be integrated into 8 knot as a visualization there. So still working to get all of the like linked issues. So then there is an issue on 8 knot and an issue on in this repository where they link to each other, because we do have a bit of a backlog of them, but people are open to if they have an idea for a visualization, that is please go for it, or anything that is, especially if something is under already defined visualization under CHAOSS and the metrics models. We're really trying to kind of pull together all of the different work that's been done in CHAOSS. And yeah, and so I'll kind of pass it off to Kaio so you can walk through the first notebook.
Do you
Sweet.
want me to stop sharing so that you can share, or do you want to send me a link? I'm good either way.
Yeah, I'll try to share it here. I
Perfect.
I always have problems sharing from um Zoom instead of Google, but let's see. Just a second. Okay, so if anyone can help just to share, for me to share just like one window or something.
You should just be able to share.
So are you using the desktop, or
Okay.
do you have the Zoom app? Or yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it is.
There you go. Perfect.
I think now you can see, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you can see just the Jupyter Lab, is it?
Yes. We can see a
Okay.
little bit, but yeah, we can see the whole screen for the Jupyter Lab.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so like finally being able to introduce myself to everyone in this working group. So Kyle, I'm also like working alongside Kali and Adrian on the data team of OSPO and Red Hat. And yeah, so it's great to finally like introduce like the first notebook, also my first notebook into this working data group that we're gonna put into 8 knot soon as well. So I tried to have the notebook being very explanatory, like detailed, like because we're also trying to work in a more of a template notebook so that every new contributor can just pretty much see it and know like the roadmap or the path to create and work into new visualizations. So this one is a very self-explanatory one as well. So we're dealing with like a self-merge rate visualization. So we just wanted to explore how many of the PRs being merged were actually being merged by the same author or the same contributor that opened the PR. So just going through the visualization here, we have the installing the dependencies, which we're also working into like updating the way that we manage the packages or install the packages. In this instance here, I'm taking advantage of the all the packages that are already being installed or are installed by Anaconda, but I also put an option to have like a requirements text where you could pretty much install all of the dependencies through that text. And I also loaded the credentials through like a JSON, which is another option that you can have as well. Then the connection for the database. And then for the queries, that's where we start to get like the information that we need for the plots. We first get the repo IDs and the repo names from the Augur data. And then for this specifically, visualization, we get sorry, we get the contributor ID, which is the person who opened the PR, and we also get the merger contributor ID, which is pretty much the person who merged the PR. So that information will give us the base to compare each other and see if it was self-merged or not. That's where we get like our information. I also introduced another optional filter. So let's say you want to analyze how many were self-merged, but also the PRs who had like at least 10 lines of code changed, or at the most 500 lines of lines of code modified or something like this. So this kind of like adds a bit more detail and information into your plot as well, which I think makes the analysis a bit more, like a bit more fine-tuned. And then you can see a bit of like the representation here. So for this example, there's no filters applied. So there's 1900 rows. And then this is pretty much like the data processing here, where we get to see if the author is the same as the one that merged the PR. Yeah. So, and then we get the plot here. So this plot here is pretty much showing like the curve, the blue curves just show the total number of PRs merged. And then the red curve shows like the amount of PRs who were merged by the same author who opened the PR. And then we had another plot as well, which is pretty much the rate of the self-merge, which is just the self-merge number over the total number of PRs merged. So there you go. So that's just just the plots. And then I just wanted to show you here as well. For example, like if we change here, so we want, let's say, uh, we want to filter like at least 50 minimal like lines of code change in 100. So I can just go run again the query and run this one. And you can see that now with the additional filter, there's only 176 that was fine, that was found. So we can run again for the plot. And you can see that's way like a smaller number. And there you go. That's the second graph with the filters applied now. And the rate as well. So there you go. That's the new visualization that we're working on. Any questions, comments?
No, that's great. That's really interesting. It's a metric that I've always particularly been interested in, and it's interesting to see this for Augur in particular. So this is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and from here we'll do is we'll go into 8 knot, and 8 knot has a pretty set visualization template as well. And so kind of the hope is that this will be the first one. It'll show the path. We can get things really templated out, get an Augur instance that people can use, that is like very bare bones. So say that somebody wants to make a visualization but does not have their own Augur instance, that there will be credentials that they can connect to that just have the very bare bone repositories in it, so you have data to be able to make the initial visualization and to run 8 knot. So yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed watching that. So if I get it right, I just want to confirm I'm seeing um the big picture. I believe the big picture is to put to perspective as many chaos defined metrics into similar notebooks like this. Is that
Yes,
correct?
pretty much that would be, I think that's a part, like a sub portion. So on 8 knot itself, there are issues that are opened of visualizations that aren't under the chaos definition or a slight iteration. And I would say a lot of times from the chaos definition, there needs to be a little bit of tinkering on the idea to work with the data that is available in Augur. So, because a lot of times I would say the metrics definitions are not bounded by any data source. It's more of like, if we had the data, this is what we would look at. And sometimes you have to be like, okay, now how do we look at this and get the same insight with what we do have? And so some of the visualizations are metrics models based. Some of them are different ideas that are coming from the community. I don't want to limit, it's not just limited to those metrics models, but I do think a lot of them do. And if people want to get started, I'm going to be opening up a bunch of the issues for that, but it's also if there's a metric model that you find interesting that is based off of like repository data, please open a notebook. The good part about this is that the person who creates the notebook, they can do the final step of putting it into 8-Knot, but also somebody else can take the results of the notebook and open a PR on 8-Knot with it. And so our hope is this, that we can make it as accessible for contributors at any point of their like interest, skill level, time to get involved in this.
Yeah, thank you. I think
Yeah.
I'm clear on what I can do for hitting us now. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks so much. This is really interesting. A quick update. Matt isn't here, but I met with him yesterday, and we got the initial commercial open source software CSV file merged into the repository. So it has some basic details about commercial open source companies. So these are companies that are predominantly making money around open source, and there are different ways to define it. And so we actually merged a couple of data sets to get this, but it's got the company, the percent confidence, how sure are they that it's an actual commercial open source company, a couple of categories, the reasoning, and the source for the data. So this is something that I personally find really interesting. So it's something that, somebody could start a project on. We could do really anything with this data. Matt's contributed it to the CHAOSS project with the idea that maybe there's something interesting that we can do with this data set. So I know we've got some other things on the agenda, but yeah, have a think about how people might be interested in doing that.
I haven't looked at that PR, so if I'm tagged on it, sorry. Do we
No, I
have
just
like a
merged
list?
it. We were
Oh,
on a call
perfect.
and I just merged it.
Um, is there details of of where this data comes from? And like, 'cause it sounds like there's multiple sources being merged. Is there details like outside? Because I wouldn't expect it to be in the CSV itself. Maybe it is. But it would be good to just know what this like. Hey, how is this gathered? If it's a combination of the different sources, what are those sources? Because that's, I think, important context for using data for analysis.
Um, Yeah, so so there is a source. So there are companies that gather this type of data that
Okay.
gave it to Matt for the Commercial Open Source Software Association Initiative. So there were two sources. One was Serena, and the other one was OSS Capital. So that is listed here, but we don't know how they came up with it, and we don't know what their confidence level means. So I would say that this is a data set that would, before you used it for anything, would probably require a bit of maybe additional cleanup or analysis.
Would we be able to add, and I can open up an issue now for this, like just a README that has that and like just kind of that basic information? Because I know that like, if you scroll, it's there, but it like without any context, there's no way of really knowing that. I think it would probably be I would only expect it to be a couple of sentences, but I think that's kind of helpful context so somebody knows where to launch from.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping that we would get to that, and Matt and I didn't. He's really busy with something else, and then I'm getting ready to take some time off, so I haven't had a chance to either. But yes, we need to, because right now the README is yeah, the data and more details are coming soon.
Okay.
Is this new? Is this
Yeah,
yes?
Yeah, it's from this
yeah,
week.
yeah. We
Uh,
just we just merged it yesterday
should I open a issue?
to update the README.
Yeah.
Yes. That
Okay,
would be great.
just so there's a reminder.
Yeah. Did you have a question about it, Kieran? That was Kieran, right?
Yeah, sorry, no, I'm just curious. I'm looking for as many lists as I can find, but I've encountered uh, as I talk about AI lots and use it, I can also see it when I see it. And this looks kind of AI generated. So is that possible?
I do not believe so. I do not believe that this is AI generated, this
Not with the
list.
confidence scores.
I don't know how they calculated the confidence scores, but I believe that these, um,
That's something AI does by itself a lot, and I dislike it. So I'm just curious. That's why I saw that signature and I was like, okay. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't AI generated.
I don't believe so. You can reach out to Matt on Slack and ask him because he's the one that might know.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah, because I
confidence
wouldn't.
intervals are something we've had
Yeah.
for
Um,
decades in data science. So AI does use them, but there are loads of different ways to collect confidence levels. And Serena and OSS Capital are both relatively reputable organizations that tend to have data sets
Okay,
on
yeah.
this type of thing.
Yeah, so I was about to say that confidence scores, like I think they're becoming more popular because of AI. But whether it is like in a machine learning, like there's just so many ways that confidence scores have existed in data science for 20 plus years. So in this context, it's not. I understand where the flag is, but it's not
It's
always.
like
Well,
the
I would
M
say most.
dash.
Yeah,
The M
it's like
dash
that's been.
is well done and written. It's there because it's been built in, but so are these confidence scores. So like nowadays I don't trust them. That's like instantly I just stop trusting anything with like confidence score because it's just so easy to pump out. But if I find the background, I will add this to my encyclopedia. This is dope.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, let's keep going because we don't have much time and we have, sorry, we have a couple more items on the agenda. So, Sal.
I will speak to the next two things. So the new maintainer onboarding and the maintainer sponsorship. I will be working with Ernest on finalizing this sponsorship thing. It got a little bit delayed because of my KubeCon. But hopefully by the end of the next week, we're going to have that completely written out, signed, and added to the repository. I am then going to reshare it to the working group to get anyone's comments or thoughts on it. And then after that, I'm going to do a bit of a public campaign around this because these are so useful and sponsorships should exist outside of security. And see if we can get some really like interesting and positive engagement around chaos because it so naturally fits along with a lot of our community criterion, which we can bring up in explaining it. So there's a nice little campaign around that, which will go very well with applying for funding at the same time. My next note here is for KubeCon. I have been doing what I call Kuber stalking and trying to get all of the information that I can out of specifically the Kubernetes repository. I used Augur for some aspects of that, and I've built out a dashboard that provides the signals for exactly what jurisdiction contributors are coming from if we can track them, which is kind of interesting. So it was just a fun, sort of half personal project, but also comes from some ways that I use Augur when engaging with like tribal populations to communicate with them. So if you want to go play with that, tell me what you think. And if there's any aspects of that that are worth upstreaming, I'd be happy to, but it's definitely a little bit off from the typical community focus, but so much fun to build. So go play with that if you want. And I think that's it for me.
Kelly has a question.
Yeah, I would be curious. It sounds like you've gone through a process of making different dashboards using Augur data. I would be curious to know what the gap is of either integrating it in with 8 knot, or I don't know if this is how publicly aware this is. Part of how the 8 knot is set up is for it to be incredibly templated so that if somebody wants to fork it to use it for a different, like kind of clear off and make it so kind of how everything is interconnected. You can search on your repositories, kind of the general functionality is there, but you can take it and only have a certain visualizations or do different things. So you're the first person that I've kind of heard in the wild to use Augur data and making different dashboards. So I'd be curious to hear feedback of what that gap would be to use at least the Augur or the 8 knot code base as a shell for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's just a next step in my development process. To be honest, right now in that development process, I'm just having a nightmare automatically locating S-bombs as usual. So as soon as I get through what is everyone's nightmare in that problem, in theory, I think in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna like completely build this out. And then at that point, I'll convert it to like a notebook and see if there's anything worth upstreaming because I am having fun with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, even if it's not something that you see as a fit, the feedback of where that gap would be of like and saying in the next time you're using it to create a dashboard for this purpose, our hope is that 8 knot would be able to be forked and used in different contexts. So that feedback would be super helpful.
Sweet. Yeah. And there's a very cool case study in starting with Augur, then moving to the formalization with 8 knot. So yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, that does look really interesting. Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes. Are there any other agenda items that we want to talk about? Anything we want to add to the agenda on the fly?
I have
Okay.
one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Given the recent outages, and also the process that I've always used in my businesses, do we want to consider for chaos, mirroring the chaos GitHub repository on Codeberg for greater resilience?
I've also thought about this just in terms of like having GitHub be very slow to respond when I'm trying to review a PR for like the AI detection GitHub action project. I was like, hey, do we want to mirror to Codeberg? I feel like some of my experiences mirroring to Codeberg, I don't know. I think I've mostly tried mirroring Codeberg to GitHub, but either way, I'm not sure if there's necessarily like they do have a feature for that, but I think you might require having like a GitHub token on the Codeberg side
Yes,
so it can push. And I
it
think
does.
those token GitHub sort of enforces that you set an expiry on those tokens. And so that might need to be an ongoing process of maintaining, like rotating those tokens as they expire so that the mirroring continues to work. If the
Yeah.
Codeberg is sort of the primary side of the migration.
Yeah, the way that I'm getting around that issue by being extremely lazy is just by doing it manually. So when I do a like big push, I use a script called engage, which pushes out to both. So I don't even actually mirror from them. I just push my code local to both separately.
Yeah, that's
Still
basically
need
what I've been doing.
tokens. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it also opens this up to contributors who aren't looking on GitHub if we're providing the same information.
And that also means potentially it could be a fun test case for, because I know Augur looks at chaos repositories by default, or at least some subset of them. So if most of the chaos repositories are also there, that will probably help for in probably 6 to 9 months time as I'm getting around to sort of testing what will probably end up being 4Geo support in Augur. Like being able to test metrics on those repos would probably be super helpful.
So what I would say is that that's not a decision that we get to make here in the data science working group. That's something that we need to talk about in the community meeting and in the Chaos General Slack channel. So decisions like that are generally made by community consensus. So I think we just need to loop the broader community into this discussion and have a discussion about the right way to do this. And I do think that Sean should be involved in that discussion because he manages a lot of the chaos infrastructure. So yeah, we should make sure that that conversation happens in the kind of more public general community. And I do want to make sure that Sean is involved in that conversation. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea. Okay, so we have a couple of agenda items for upcoming meetings that were basically things that would be great to talk about when we get some extra time in the agenda. So we have less than about 5 minutes. So probably not this week. Is there anything that anyone else wants to add to the agendas for future meetings. Okay. I would say you're also welcome to just add those anytime. So if you think of something later, just go ahead and add it to the most recent notes, and then we can talk about it in the meeting. I just have one reminder, all things open, the CFP is March 31st. It's a delightful conference in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you're interested in going to that and submitting a talk, you have another few days. Okay, I think we've almost reached the end of our time. Is there anything else anyone wants to chat about before we wrap up the meeting?
I just want to say, have so much fun with taking a little bit of time and space back and having some vacation time. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. Super excited. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, bye everyone.